Ukraine claims early success in counteroffensive as Zelensky vows to chase Russians to the border. Volodymyr Zelensky issues the warning to Russian forces during his evening address on Monday, saying it was time for them to run away, go home. Kiev, Ukraine, CNN. As Ukraine ramped up its offensive to retake Russian occupied territory in the country's south, its forces have regained four villages and broken through Russian defenses at multiple points of the front line in the Kherson region, according to Ukrainian officials. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky also issued a warning to Russian forces during his evening address Monday, saying it was the time for them to run away, go home, and that the occupiers must know we will chase them to the border. Yet, one of his advisors cautioned that the operation will be a slow one that would grind the enemy. This process will not be very fast. Oleksiy Oleksiy Arestovich, advisor to the head of the office of the president of Ukraine, said in a statement posted on Telegram late Monday, but will end with the installation of the Ukrainian flag all over all the settlement of Ukraine. The Ukrainian armed forces have broken through the front line in several sectors, Alestovich said in a video interview posted on YouTube, adding that the Ukrainian forces were shelling ferry crossing points that Moscow is using to resupply Russian occupied territory over the Dnipro River in the Kherson region. We suppress their attempts to supply their groups on the west bank of the Dnipro, he said. We strike at reserves, including reserves that are on the east bank and are trying to cross. Earlier Monday, the Ukrainian military source told CNN that Ukrainian forces have had taken four villages: Novo Dmitrivka, Arkhangelsk, Tomia, Barka, and Privdine back from Russian occupation, adding that the main target was the city of Kherson. The operation began at night with massive shelling of Russian positions and the Rio. The source, who is not being named for security reasons, told CNN. Russia's defense ministry acknowledged Kiev's operation, but claimed that the Ukrainian troops had suffered heavy losses and failed miserably, and their attempt of offensive. CNN has not been able to verify both the Russian and the Ukrainian claims. The Kherson region, crucial to controlling Ukrainian southern coast and access to the Black Sea, was one of the first areas to be occupied by Russian forces when they invaded more than 6 months ago. In recent weeks, Ukrainian forces have been making advances around Kherson, including the targeting of critical bridges to disrupt Ukrainian supply routes. Ukrainian forces also launched the attack at the Russian-held town of Nova Kakhovka on Monday, knocking out its electricity and water supply, according to Russian state media LIA Novosti, who cited a Russian-appointed local authority. RIA quoted the head of civil military administration in the town, Vladimir Leontiev, as saying the consequences of the strike will probably be terrible. We can't leave now. There was a lot of shelling. Something exploded. There were strikes in the city and near a hydroelectric plant. We can see the fire in both places. Leontiev added. UN inspectors prepare to visit a nuclear plant visit. The counteroffensive comes as the delegation of 14 international experts from the International Atomic Energy Agency arrived in Kiev ahead of the planned visit to the Russian-held Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant in southern Ukraine later this week. Ukraine and Russia continued to blame each other Tuesday for shelling the area around the plant and raising fears of the nuclear disaster. CNN is unable to verify who is responsible. Russian authorities, who now control the plant and the nearby city of Inehodar, reported artillery strikes early Tuesday morning close to the spent fuel storage building. Kiev blamed Moscow for the attack. Russia is deliberately shelling corridors for the IAEA mission to reach ZNPP, the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. Mikhailo Podolyak, an advisor to Zelensky's head of the office, alleged in the tweet that reiterated Ukrainian demands for Russian troops to withdraw for the plant. Concerns over the possible nuclear accident saw Zaporizhzhia city authorities handing out iodine pills to residents. On Tuesday, the European Union said it was donating 5.5 million potassium iodide tablets to Ukraine to protect people from potential radiation exposure. No nuclear power plant should ever be used as the world threater. It's unacceptable that civilian lives are put in danger. All military action around the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant must stop immediately. EU Commissioner for Crisis Management Janis Linacic said. Meanwhile, the US officials believe Ukraine's long anticipated counteroffensive will include a combination of air and ground operations. John Kirby, the communications coordinator for the National Security Council, said Monday that regardless of the size, scale, and the scope of the latest counteroffensive, the Ukrainians have already had the impact on Russian military capabilities because the Russians had to pull resources from the east supply because of reports that the Ukrainians might be going more on the offense in the south, Kirby said, and so they've had to deflate certain units in certain areas in the east in the Donbass region to respond to what they clearly believed was the looming threat of the counteroffensive. Kirby also said that Russia continues to have manpower problems in Ukraine and is trying to expand its recruitment of fighters inside Russia as well as entities some of their conscript and contract soldiers to serve beyond their time frames. CNN's Darya Tarasova, Natasha Bertland, Sharif Paget, Josh Pennington, Mikhail Conte, Alex Hardy, and Kim Norgant contributed to this report.